And if you try and stop me...
You will strike me down? Have you forgotten me, sir?
The fate of Lady Catelyn Stark in the books. The Game of Thrones brought in many changes from the book, and one of the most significant change was the fate of Lady Catelyn Stark after the Red Wedding. It would have fixed many plot holes in the show. David Benioff and DB Weiss's decision to end Lady Stark's role after the Red Wedding was criticized by fans and critics alike, including Mr. Martin. Nevertheless, in this video, we will explore exactly what happened to Lady Stark after her death in the Red Wedding, including a theory titled The Gift of Mercy, and we'll also dive into what it means for the rest of Westeros. Let's begin. 1. The Red Wedding. Catelyn Stark attends the wedding of her brother Edmure at the Twins, where she is seated among notable guests and would-be betrayers, such as Ser Ryman Frey and Lord Roose Bolton. Much like in the show, treachery ensues as the Freys and Boltons betray the Starks at the wedding, turning it into a horrific event called the Red Wedding. Swords were drawn, blood was spilt, and a dark time was conjured. In a desperate attempt to save her son's life, Catelyn takes hostage Lord Walder Frey's hapless grandson, Aegon, hoping to exchange his life for that of her beloved Robb, the king in the north. Alas, Roose Bolton puts an end to Robb's life, causing Catelyn to respond with the unspeakable act of slitting Aegon's throat. However, in the show, she slits the throat of Walder Frey's young wife. Catelyn's actions incite a violent response from the Freys, who had planned to take her as a hostage. In a state of madness, Catelyn claws at her own face while Ser Raymond Frey slits her throat. The Freys mock House Tully's funeral customs by throwing her naked body into the Green Fork, after it had been lifeless for a day and a night. Number 2. Coming back to life. 3 days after her passing, Arya Stark's direwolf, Nymeria, retrieves Catelyn's corpse from the river. Interestingly, Lord Beric Dondarrion sacrifices himself in exchange for Catelyn's resurrection. He does so by performing something called the Last Kiss. But what is the Last Kiss? Well, this ceremony is performed when a follower of the Lord of Light passes away, and involves the priests filling their mouth with flames and breathing fire into the dead body. The belief behind this rite is that fire serves as a purifying agent, cleansing the soul and bestowing a radiant gift. Lady Catelyn was brought back to life, yet her wounds only partially healed, rendering her mute and mutilated. Driven by a burning desire for retribution against those who orchestrated her family's brutal murder, Catelyn leads Beric's group, the Brotherhood Without Banners, on a merciless crusade for vengeance. 3. Life as Lady Stoneheart. The passage of death has wrought a profound transformation upon Catelyn Stark. Her resurrected form, known as Lady Stoneheart, is a shadow of her former self, stripped of the grace and forgiveness that once defined her character. Now, consumed by an insatiable hunger for retribution, against those she believes have betrayed her and her son Robb, she hangs any man linked to the Freys, Boltons, or Lannisters, even if their culpability in the Red Wedding is uncertain, as was the case with Podrick Payne. The ravages of her time spent submerged in river water have further altered Lady Stoneheart's appearance. Her once smooth flesh has turned soft and sallow, resembling pudding, with a sickly hue akin to curdled milk, speckled by an unsightly grey-green mottling and brown blots of decay. Her hair now lies in disarray, with half of it gone. Her eyes, once filled with warmth and light, now appear as two red pits, burning with an intense fire in the shadows. Yet, it is the damage inflicted upon her face and throat that is perhaps the most disconcerting. Her wounds remain unhealed, her throat still bears the telltale slit of her execution, and to speak, she must laboriously pinch her throat closed, but even then, her voice emerges as a croak, wheeze, and death rattle, difficult to comprehend. In Lady Stoneheart's visage, we see the terrible toll exacted by death, a vivid reminder of the limits of even the most powerful magics and the futility of attempting to cheat the natural order. 4. The Gift of Mercy, a theory. One of the most captivating characters in George R.R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire series is Arya Stark, whose insatiable thirst for revenge and justice has propelled her into a dark and dangerous world. As she journeys to Braavos and learns the ways of the Faceless Men, she faces the prospect of losing her identity in exchange for becoming a deadly assassin. While the television adaptation touches on her internal struggle, fans believe that the books will take a different path towards resolving Arya's conflict. According to a popular theory, the Winds of Winter will see Arya return to Westeros and encounter Lady Stoneheart. The undead Catelyn Stark, consumed by vengeance, will serve as a cautionary tale for Arya, who risks losing herself in a cycle of violence and revenge. Seeing how vengeance has altered her mother beyond recognition, Arya may realize the true cost of her actions and the importance of mercy. This theory posits that Arya will ultimately be the one to give her mother the gift of mercy by ending her life, a moment that would be both poetic and heart-wrenching. It would bring Arya's story full circle, as she was the one who discovered and helped resurrect Catelyn's corpse, through her wolf Nymeria. The symmetry of having Arya both allow Catelyn to be reborn and put her to rest is a testament to Martin's storytelling prowess. In one of the few released chapters from the Winds of Winter, Arya takes on the name Mercy, which could serve as a subtle hint towards her role in Lady Stoneheart's demise. This momentous event would mark a turning point for Arya, as she grapples with the weight of life and death and the true consequences of her actions. With Martin's talent for crafting brutal and poignant narrative beats, the possibility of this theory becoming a reality is both thrilling and terrifying. Binge Buddha quotes: "Do you think this fits? Or, do you think there's more to Lady Stoneheart than serving as a lesson to her assassin daughter?" Well, Lady Stoneheart is the only person to know that Robb Stark has named Jon Snow his heir, and she also possesses the Crown of Winter, which doesn't give her the right to name a king, but it does ensure that the claimant's claim to the North becomes stronger. Will she be the one to help Jon become the king in the North? Well, we can only speculate unless Mr. Martin decides to pick up his pen and finish the books. That was all in today's video. Please hit those buttons if you had a good time watching this. Have a good day.